Hello, good evening. This is Gary. This is the second day of the challenge. Nobody there yet, so don't worry about it. Still nobody there. I'm here. Oh, hello. Hello. Welcome to this short live. I'm in my office um, in Lausanne, and I'm on a chair that swings. I'm not on a boat. So I wanted to talk about this. This is the welcome. Um, if you'd like to who you are and where you are, it would be nice to communicate directly with you. Otherwise, that's what I'm here for, chat, and hopefully that will motivate you to keep going. Um, First of all, one of the subjects I thought to speak about this evening was hello. Thinking to talk about this evening is to remind ourselves why it's 70 days, what days. And I have a bit of a video that I showed before. So I'm going to show it again. It takes a moment. Not very good at this. Okay. You got to see some of that, what you see and what you can't see. The only feedback I get is if people write and leave comments, so I can respond to that. But the 70 days is a very, very, very interesting concept because, yes, it seems quite long to begin with, 70 days, 10 weeks. But on the other hand, it does give us time to get into something and to try. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes we have a false start, sometimes we need to make more efforts. But what is really important is that we can actually see results. And one of the things that it's long enough. I started the gym again this morning for my sins, and I looked at my big fat belly, and I thought, great, I have 70 days. I can do something about this because there's a discipline, and I am very poorly disciplined generally, and poorly disciplined with my food. I'm a bit actually lazy, although people say I'm not lazy because I seem to do quite a lot, but that's also a matter of opinion. But the idea to have these 70 days and say, okay, these 70 days, I'm going to be careful of what I eat. I'm going to go onto my own special system of the F's, which maybe I'll talk about tomorrow. And what is important, hello, is that it's long enough that you can actually see some benefits. If you want to do some writing, it gives you time to think and to structure and to put things down. If you want to start doing a marathon, you can start just by walking and jogging a bit and walking and jogging a bit more and slowly build up. If you want to start reducing on your cigarettes or your alcohol or your medications or your pills, you don't have to rush because it gives you time. It says, okay, I'm going to go down, for instance, if you wanted to cut down from smoking from 40 a day, you can say, okay, I'm going to cut down a half a cigarette a day. Half a cigarette doesn't sound much at all. But if you did half a cigarette a day, by the end of the 70 days, you'd be down to about 5 cigarettes. And there are lots of other things like that, is it gives you time. And what is so important is that it's a bit of a marathon. We know that. So we should take it easy to begin with, depending who you are. I mean, I am not taking it easy. I want to start with a bit of a bang. I'm fasting for a few days, water fasting, which is water and tisane and nothing else, because I want to get started. But, I'm a bit of a lunatic, as you might find out and notice. I want to get started. I want to get into it. But I just spoke to the French world a few minutes ago, and I said that in my dim and distant past, when I was a student in England, I don't know if any know what Rag Week is, but Rag Week is a week when the students do things to raise money for charities. And I was, for some reason, on the right committee, and somebody suggested we do a marathon and have people sponsor the people that do the marathon to raise money for charity. And then turned around and said, now somebody from the committee has got to go and do the marathon, or else it doesn't seem very fair people to do it. So I ended up volunteering because I'm an idiot. I was totally unfit, totally incapable. And so I said, I'll do it. And I thought, well, I just wander around. But unfortunately, I started off with some people that wanted to jog. And so I started to jog with them. And after about 15, 20 minutes, I was totally, completely wrecked. I was just couldn't carry on. And then I round the rest of the marathon. And it was tough. It was very, very tough. I was more than likely the last person to finish, finished in the night dark. Somebody helped me sit down. I couldn't get up again. I couldn't walk, but I'd done it to do the marathon. Even though I did it badly, even though I was the last, even though I was the most miserable, I still succeeded it. And this idea of these 70 days is a bit of a marathon. And you need to pace yourself. That's why If you're dieting, that I suggest very strongly that you give yourself a day of feast in which you allow yourself maybe not enormous amounts of food, but the food that you find important and that you miss for the rest of the week. So you give yourself that. If you're training, give yourself a day off. Um, a bit like in the religious world, the Sabbath, which is a Saturday or a Sunday or I think a Friday for the Muslims, that you have a day of peace, you have a day of rest, that you have a day to recuperate. It's very, very important that you find some balance in the way you're doing this because it is quite a long way, 70 days. But it is so doable. And yes, to begin with, it's like going up a huge hill. You think, I don't know if I can do this. Seems like a lot. I'll give it a try. We'll see how it goes. And you start, and it's okay for a while. It's okay for a while. And then, sort of, maybe after 2 or 3 weeks, you start to think, well, it seems to very long. I don't know if I'm going to get there. But and you sort of have a dip, and then hopefully you carry on and you carry on, and you start to get towards the halfway mark. And getting towards the halfway mark gives you courage again, gives you fortitude, and gives you something positive. And you get towards the halfway mark, and you think, that's it. I've got to halfway. And halfway is very interesting because halfway is the end of the beginning and the beginning of the end. It's like starting to go down the hill. You've got to the top, and you're going to go down the hill. And you see where you've got to, you see what advances you made, and then you get more courage, more force, more positive again. And that's great. That's really, really great. So after that, what I find to be very interesting is when you get to the seventh or eighth week, and you can really, really see the end, it's very possible to be a bit disappointed that it's going to end so soon, because maybe you haven't quite reached the point that you want to reach. You haven't quite reached your goal, and you can see, well, you might not get there. Now, I'm not suggesting that you constantly reduce the goals that you have. I think it's really important that you have a goal that's reasonable, that you can be optimistic that you can reach it, because that's really important. And if you can't actually reach the goal that you set yourself, that's such a success, and it's a real high. But I also talk about partial successes. And partial successes are very, very important not to be too disappointed. If you only get 3/4 of the way of what you plan to do, or if you don't quite arrive, for instance, I said this idea that somebody that reduced their cigarettes on 40 days by half a cigarette a day, and they still finish smoking 5 cigarettes a day at the end of the 70-day challenge. Not the end of the world. And you know why it's not the world? Because there's not only one 70-day challenge. I plan to have three 70-day challenges per year, just like 3 school terms. You have 3 moments of discipline, of effort, of hard work, and then you have 3 moments of pause, of holiday. And I think that's a very good balance to have, because one of the most awful things that I found, especially I've been on diets one way or another since I was 9. So that's a lot of years being on diets, off and on, yo-yo, going up, coming down, going up, trying to do a bit of sport, not keeping up, and it's very disappointing. And if you will find out that if you do something and you do it long enough, and then you stop and then you go backwards, it's very disappointing. However, if in your logic you say, I'm going to be disciplined for 10 weeks, for 70 days, and then I'm going to take a break, I'm going to take a holiday. And the way that the 3 challenges are organized is they're organized that they start in January with the New Year's resolution. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Yep, that's a great motivation. You've just passed Christmas, New Year, and Hanukkah, or whatever else that you celebrate, and maybe you gained some weight, maybe you lost some form, or maybe just that you have things that you have decided for this next year that you want to do, write a book, run a marathon, reduce your diabetes, whatever. And it's a good start, beginning of January. So that goes through to the middle of March. And then the middle of March, usually around that period, end of March, Easter. We have a Passover, Easter, whatever you call it, whatever is there. And then it's not really a good time to enjoy yourself, to have family time, to have gifts, to feel good about yourself, or just have a holiday. And then after the Easter holidays, we start again. Another 70 days. We get back on the horse, back on the rails. We get back onto it. So whatever we've gone backwards during that holiday time, it doesn't matter because you won't go out to where you started in January, I would expect. I know I've gained quite a lot of weight and a few inches. It doesn't worry me. It doesn't worry me because now I'm starting again, and I know that it's a bit, one of these wave things like this, but it's like this. Goes up, goes higher, goes higher. And the logic is that even if you go down a bit and you lose a bit of what you gained, you're going to get next time and even more the next time. And the whole point of in these sort of holiday, go backwards too much, especially, and I say especially if you're coming off drugs or medications or alcohol or cigarettes or those, you say, okay, I'm on a pause now, but the pause is to stay at the same level, is in those things, because that would be whatever it is that you're doing at the moment, then don't go backwards. However, I have a much more flexible attitude towards alcohol, a little bit towards joints, cannabis. In the fact is that in instances, a limited amount of alcohol or smoke a joint from time to time is not the end of the world. It needs to be very, very limited addiction from something. Then to go to what I call normal consummation of something. It's like food. That are addicted to food, and they're either obese, they're bulimic. Those are the two possibilities. I don't know if you understand about obesity. Um, yeah, the difference is not that they eat or not. It's people that are obese. They don't have a compensating behavior. And bulimics, they eat often in what they call hyperphagic, a lot in a short space of time. But then they either throw up or um, uh, they do a lot of sport or they take laxatives. I've got the word laxatives. They take laxatives or something else. Well, they starve themselves for a number of days, weeks, but they do things to compensate eating addiction. Where people that are obese, they don't do anything to compensate. They just eat and they just become bigger and bigger and bigger. So, for instance, um, eating can be dysfunctional. So to go to be to eat normally, not to eat an enormous amount of time, to jump on sugar, things like that, that is eating normally. And people can also drink normally. Um, and maybe, I mean, now in America, and there's all these gummy bears and all these other things that are cannabis based, which seem to be normalized. And it's fine. It's fine as long as it stays normal, as long as it stays not too much. And the idea to find balance in things is really, really important. The 70 days is to reduce whatever it is that you're doing that's too much, or to add what you're doing too little. So those are the moments of discipline. And then in the gaps, in the holidays of Easter, which is Pesach, summer holidays, and then Christmas, New Year, Hanukkah, they show something like that. These are the moments then you can sort of let yourself go, but don't go backwards too much, and it sort of spoils what you've done. I mean, it's stupid to be really disciplined for 10 weeks and then just do something totally extreme. So you just lose all the benefit of the 10 weeks. That's stupid. But I don't think you'll do that. I think that together we will carry on and we will succeed. We will succeed to find a balance. Will succeed to either come down what you want to, what you are doing too much, build up what you're not doing enough, and we can hold that. And we hold it because, as you've seen, if you've seen a little bit of video, is that if you start to do something for long enough, it becomes a habit. For instance, I don't like the gym. I find it boring and irritating. Some of the exercises are okay exercises I find to be horrible. But just the same, doing this first 70 days into the gym, 4, 5, 6, 7, once 8 times in a week, I don't think about it. It's just I should do it, and I should do it every day because I'm doing the 70-day challenge. And in the 70-day challenge, I go to the gym almost every day. I say almost because, I live in a real world and I have real obligations. I have a lot of patients I need to look after, and that they need to see me. So I don't always have as much time as I would like. And now to spend an hour every night almost talking to you guys takes a lot of my time. So if I miss to go to the gym 1 or 2 nights, that's the compromise for spending some time with you. And I think it's worth, because this is also what's, that I am with you. It's important that I am here to support you. For the moment, all I can see is a number. So I don't know who it is. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you need. But, send me a message, send me a note. You don't have to give me your name. I told you it's one of the things about this challenge is I don't know people's names or phone numbers or email addresses, and certainly not credit cards. I have no contact direct, so I cannot benefit. I don't want anybody to think that I can benefit by abusing your contact on any way. I don't know. But if you wish to write me a message, a note, a commentary, which tells me a little bit about what you're after, what your challenge is, because say, okay, my challenge is I'm over horribly, morbidly obese. I need to lose, I don't know, 50 pounds or something. I still don't know who you are. If you say I'm from America or England or New Zealand or whatever, I still don't know who you are. I still can't benefit from that. It just helps me know who's following this and sort of give me some clues about what you want me to talk about, because half an hour every night, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. And it's important that I'm here. It's important that you're here. It's important that you hold true and that you find the benefit, maybe you find a group, find other people that are doing it with you. And this is really, really important. But for me to fill in 25, 30 minutes every night, it's going to be quite a challenge, because basically I'm talking to myself. And talking to myself, I mean, I'm very good at talking to myself. I do it quite a lot, generally in my daily life. I also therapize myself. I look and see what I'm doing. If I'm feeling depressed, if I'm feeling a bit lost, if I'm feeling that, then I sort of try and plan with my and feel better how I can solve problems and deal with things like that, how I can discipline myself, how especially my time off. I have obviously I work as a psychologist. I also have a lot of administration to do. I'm also the co for this practice. We've been split into two, and I have half of my responsibility. I have four psychologists that are my responsibility. So that gives me a certain amount of word reports that I hate, which I have to write that to do, plus quite a lot of patients that I follow on a very regular basis. And after I'm doing, plus trying to go to the gym on a very regular basis. So I spend a lot of time talking to myself because it sort of fills up the space. Um, but I really would like some help from you, if you would like, is just to send me a little bit of a commentary of how this is for you, and what I can say, what I can talk about, and how I can be of service. Because the idea of this, at least for the first few times, is that I'm not going to gain any money from this. That's it. Any money from this. I don't expect to. I don't plan to, because I would like to. But that's not the plan to begin with. The plan is to build up a bigger group of people that regularly do the 70-day challenge. So I also would like some feedback. I'd also like you to share this, what you're doing, with friends, with colleagues, with other people that might benefit from joining us on the 70-day challenge. For the first few weeks, you can catch up. I mean, 10 weeks, 70 days is the plan. But if you miss 1 or 2 weeks at the beginning and you sort of get into it and you can, it's still doable to at least to get somewhere, because somebody might just create for themselves an 8-week challenge because they've missed the first 2 weeks, and their goal is based on that, which is reasonable. I didn't mention it in the French group because I've created a journal page, and I think I could attach it to this once it's actually saved, and it'll be on the information. It'll be a link to a page, you can download, you can print, you can print 70 times, and every day, or as often as you feel useful for you, you fill it in. Now, I will be creating a book which will be much more interesting and much more, with lots of stuff in, and eventually a print book of a journal that people can expect for this to be this 70 days. I think that the page, that your journal page, will give you something to write on and to keep yourself motivated with the weeks, see how I board with that. And once the ebook is done, and then to create a physical book, that's going to be easy. But I think people will wait until the next series, because to buy a book, it's going to cost about $10 or 9 euros, 10 francs, and pounds, more than about £9. So it's not going to be cheap, but unfortunately, it just costs a lot of money to produce. And because thousands are on producing them, as people asked for them, then it's quite expensive. So keep faith, keep with it. Send me some messages if you can. Like, share, tell your friends, and I'll see you